part of the price of our model. So
I apologize to bite in, but I don't see Daria, who is under Startup Booster.
She was in and she left. Okay, she's back.
Yeah, because we're having some technical issues. It's really important that she joins the conversation because we are both two people in the Startup Booster who are doing this thing. And I would like her to also give a word and just to say a couple of words as well.
All right, so fair enough. We're going to time box this. The real goal is not a normal pitch, or it's not even to get live mentoring. The only goal for this call is to make it so that everyone thinks that they're clear on how much money they're getting, what they're spending it on, and what the outcome, what the experiment is. So for you, since it's been ongoing and you're the first one and it's the first time we've ever done this, we're going to spend a couple extra minutes if we need to. But the format in the future is basically, instead of on Shark Tank where they're pitching their idea and their business model and the market size and their competition and why, and they're trying to like convince people to invest in their vision. You're not trying to convince us of anything. You're trying to say, this is clear. This is our metric. This is how much money we need. This is when we're going to run the experiment. So, so it sounds to me like the action that we've agreed upon is getting people to pay a discounted price for the course. And again, if some of you are catching up, just try to follow along. Maybe in the future we'll add cheat sheets. I was thinking about doing a document in real time, like what their experiment is proposed to look like and what we give feedback on. But just try to follow along, and then we'll answer questions about the program itself at the end of this call. And then the future ones, they might be an hour long and a little bit more structured. Do we all agree that the primary action we're testing is the initial payment for the course at this discounted rate of $1,400? And if not, why not?
So we decided to design the experiment around the sales funnel and the marketing strategies.
Okay.
Because you and Boris, both of you gave the comment that maybe we might be testing, we should have started with that, not to improve the quality of the course, so that we get more people who start their company and later on we get the revenue from them. So you kind of said a couple of times and hinted that we should be testing the paid version. So we kind of flipped the coin because actually we need both, right? On the one hand, we need the people who are graduating from the program and who are, like if they entered for free, we are getting the percentage from their company, so the equity. And on the other hand, we need the cash, so to say, right? So that we can develop and advertise. Thus, we would also like to focus on the paid program as well. And today yeah.
I let you go a little longer than normal only because I keep saying you're going first. And so everyone's always going to have the same, this is exactly why we're focused. We know there's always going to be a catch-22. There's always going to be multiple dependencies. Through all of our mentor sessions, we always have the same exact conversation. So we're going to put you on the spot. What do you can test everything, and you can even test everything with our money, but you just can't do it simultaneously. So you can pick the order. The order might be wrong, but for the purposes of this call, we want to get people really in the habit. There was even a guy yesterday, and he might be on the call, and forgive me if I'm talking about you behind your back. He's sending us his logo. He's sending us his domain name. There's a lot of places for that, in the startup world and at accelerators. But if we're going to be able to make this work, we have a very idealistic thing that, the first time you ask for money, we are open to everyone in the world. There's no one else that's doing anything like that. But in order to make that work, we have to say no to a lot of stuff. And it's all the extra stuff. I might be wrong. I might be crazy. I might be rude. But this is the model that we're going with for the next couple months. So do you want to test retention of the free students, or do you want to test paid students up front? Either one of them are testable hypotheses. We have Daria on the phone now, so you guys can talk to each other for 30 seconds, but we're going to move on to the next person.
I think
I wasn't actually going to do it. I realized that might be a good idea. That so we're going to look for what's the metric?
Okay. So should I just stop the call right now and talk to Daria, or so what's the plan?
I think we came into the call thinking that it was testing paid.
Yes. The thing is that Daria is just writing me by Skype. She's saying something, but we cannot hear her. So she's having technical problems. And she can hear us, so she's writing, but we cannot hear her. And we don't see her. And she's... So she is also... So yeah, just a second. So she is also writing that we would like to test the sales funnel and the paid customers.
Okay. So $1,400 seems to be, and we can, I actually personally like your idea of testing all three channels. I think people are looking to always see which one is better. So at some point I actually will fund that experiment just for personal, so you can count on that coming. But now let's just test if people are going to sign up for your 50-day course for $1,400. Is that true?
Yes. Let's test.
Okay, so what's the minimum success criteria? If we have this call again in a month, how many people do you believe will pay $1,400? We'll get into how you acquire them offline, but let's just commit to a metric. So how many people do you believe will pay $1,400? So Boris, I think we're either testing a price point. Well, we have a price point, so yes. I'm going to ask them again. I think it's the only thing that that's what I was going to. Good. Me and Boris are, whether you guys like it or not, Boris and I are mostly on the same. He calls me on my shit sometimes, but we're on the same page. So I didn't know if you want to say it on the record, but you don't have to tell us how much, but how many people have paid you anything, whether they've started a course or finished it or started a business? How many people have paid you anything related to coaching in the last year?
For now, we have 2 paid customers.
Okay.
And the rest, that's why we wanted to test the first thing before. Good. The rest were those who came for free.
Good.
But for the equity percentage, of course.
Totally understood. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So how many can you grow 2 to how many in the next 30 days? Given a paid marketing budget even.
We would like to test the 3 channels, and I think there should be at least 10 people.
Okay. So $1,500 is the cost of the experiment. You'll acquire them through like a landing page sort of situation that we can share with the group after, but just for the purpose of this call, that'll be the medium, right? You're not going to use phone or an in-person booth or something. You're going to acquire them basically through the internet.
Yes, we will design the landing page exactly for the campaign. We have redesigned the website today. So we will also add one more landing page for that. And we will channel it via Facebook, LinkedIn, and also Twitter. Okay. So
we have the account set up for Facebook. People have taken advantage of that so far. And I haven't even... some of them have gone longer than they needed to, but I haven't been stingy on that. You have $500 already, so I would spend that on the LinkedIn ads. You can handle that yourself, and then we'll talk about the third channel. Startups tend not to be the richest. Yeah, but then that's your problem, not their problem. Boris and I have dealt with this ourselves, and that's why do you think I'm giving you guys money why do you think my model pivoted to giving money rather than asking startups for money? So yeah, I mean those are just facts. On the other hand, though, I remember people always complain about money, but I spent my first $5,000 on an asshole designer, that was really awesome, that it looked really cool, but there was absolutely no value. So that's sort of why it's not because I'm a sadist or a masochist or whatever, the one that likes other people's pain, not their own, but it's because I have had a lot of these lessons, and I don't feel sorry for, sort of pushing people the way I wish I was pushed. So yeah. All right. Awesome. So yeah, we might start you. The only thing that I'll say it out loud in front of everyone, instead of having you spend $500 on each one at once, I might have you spend $300 on each one at once and see what the results are. And if you're clearly wasting money on one, I am going to cut that one off. But other than that, you've basically been approved for this experiment. I think it's a good one. I think it's good for the community. And then yes, at some point we are going to test that that you can't just, acquire customers for $1,500. You should be able to. It's that they are going through their lesson and they're getting value of it. But I think this is a good experiment. I think this was good for the community. I think this was a good first example for the call. I know I see Josh on here. Is that good? I know you. And also, we're always going to deal with my co-founder is here, or I don't want to do it on Facebook. But if we didn't do all the work that we did together on Facebook, this would have taken 2 hours and everyone would have been totally lost. So that's why we fun to do a little bit up front. You've been, pretty cooperative with this stuff. It's not easy. It's always the investor always wants to give less, and the entrepreneur always thinks they're entitled to more. $20. I don't know what that means. We gave you more than $20, but maybe I missed something else. All right. We're kicking you out of here. We're going to try to make that things always go longer than they're supposed to. $1,500, 30 days, at least 10 new signups. Obviously, just the math there, and Boris and I were talking about this on another call yesterday. That's an acquisition cost of $150. I don't know if you planned on it being that way or if you're just pulling numbers out, but I always am happy at least when people say numbers. So I won't get annoying over the numbers, and a high acquisition cost is okay because, it's a $1,500 ticket item. So. Oh.
Yes, I calculated approximately the way it works. I used some statistics of the people who used to do it. Therefore, we estimate that it should be like this.
Awesome. Okay. So I think, all right. So I think Boris and Daria are the ones talking. I think that.
Yeah, I cannot just talk to you simultaneously and focus on the chat. So we will drop you the link to the landing page in a couple of days. And as we have some of the money already, so you mentioned that we need to pay from that amount to LinkedIn. And you will be doing.
Yeah, I'll add you to the Facebook account. The only other thing, and this actually is pretty straightforward in the form, you have to start within 7 days. So people always think, I need a month. Timing is another thing that this program is trying to isolate, identify, and maybe the 10th thing Boris is going to make fun of me that we're experimenting with. But it's not helpful for us if you just take the money and you're like, not that you're stealing it, and this is for all teams, not you guys. If you don't start the experiment, because you think you have a good reason, then it's not beneficial for this program. So 7 days is reasonable for I think you already have the landing page.
We just need to design one, but it took us basically a couple of hours to remake the whole website. So we are quite quick there.
Okay, good. And that's also why we have the Facebook in our account. It's not something someone's like, oh, you're just trying to get likes. No, because we've learned that someone says, okay, they're all ready and they're finally ready to run an ad, and their account needs 5 more days to get approved, or they weren't, they don't know how to set up Facebook ads. So we've thought about most of this. We're always open to learning, but a lot of the stuff you guys have to trust us on the first experiment. I would say trust us the first time, challenge us the second time. You're done. I'm kicking you out.
Sure. Okay, bye-bye.
Let's see if we can get one more team. Damien. Let's see if Damien's on the call. Damien ran a really cool. Oh, nice. All right, this is working out nicely. Is Fyodor actually here too? Fyodor's here with him. That's even awesomer. Damien, I owe you like $800, huh? This is a bad business model I'm in already. We can't hear you or see you. We'll give him about a minute. Otherwise, we'll sort of just give him the details. No, we can't hear you. Pull your headphones in and out. Next time, everyone, if you're just listening, obviously it doesn't matter. But next time, if you know you're one of the people that's pitching, test your stuff beforehand. But this is a freebie call this week. All right, everyone, give him another minute. Otherwise, I think I saw who was doing the beacons in Seattle. We'll give him a shot next, if he's still here. Who's my beacon guy? Is that Jonathan, right? Is he on the call? Jonathan. We can see you. Can't hear you. Can you hear us, Damien? All right, Josh. All right, Damien. So we challenged Damien to actually get people. He had a landing page. Wasn't really an experiment, but we were having some fun over the holidays. I told him I'd give him $50 for everyone that not only opened an email, but actually clicked his value proposition. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about, it's in French. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about what it actually said, and that it didn't say click here because Adam's going to give me $50 if you do. But other than that, I think the experiment was pretty impressive. It's a food delivery service, which we are seeing some in the States, but all around the world. So I kind of want to hear how he's innovating and what's different about it. But he got the clicks. I think he got 16 clicks. So I owe him $800, and that's equity free. I knew he'd get some. I wasn't rooting for zero, but I thought I'd end up owing him about $300 to $400. So it was close. So now I'm going to try to get him introduced to Manuel Rosso, one of the great food startup lean mentor guys in our circles. And I want him to start delivering this stuff. So the next experiment that we are going to get equity for is going to be in terms of what he needs to sort of maybe do 25 successful deliveries in a month or something like that. Boris, if you can. Damien, can you type the exact value proposition that got them to click in the message box? And Josh, you and Jonathan, get ready. We'll spend 5 more minutes, and then the people that stick around on the call, we can sort of open it up to like, what the fuck is this program really all about? All right, Damien, just type it right here if you don't mind. What did they actually, in English, why did they click that button? What were they expecting? I know what you were expecting, $50. What were they expecting? Why did they click that button? All right, he's not tight. All right, let's see. We're going to hold you accountable to this back in the Facebook group. But yeah, I thought that was a great experience. And it wasn't just like a stupid experiment. I think you learned something. I learned something. And I also, okay. So I understand the general value proposition. What were they expecting? Were they expecting, if they clicked that, were they getting their first order? Were they going to see what was on the menu? Were they just going to learn more? What were they clicking? And while he's typing, Josh and Jonathan, jump on. Nice. Wow, this fucking thing works. This format's pretty good too. My goal next time is if we get like more than 100 people on the call, we'll give a random person $1,000, but as long as they actually have a testable. All right, so learn more. So that's, again, you locked in the money. That would be the lowest, the very minimum I would have wanted you to say, but I would have done the same thing if someone was offering me $50 a click. We'll run one more that sort of says, instead of learning more, like place your first order, free delivery. You still have to pay for the items, but we'll waive the delivery charge, or we'll make you a lifetime member, or we'll upgrade or we'll give you a faster delivery, or we'll something that is a little bit. People love loss leaders, and people love like, oh, we're losing some people. I'll write it too. People really have tight schedules on Friday. All right, let's get. So that's the only thing I want to tidy up. But this was a fun experiment, so you earned it. Yep, exactly. You don't even really need your producers. That's another thing that I think is good for the call. It's kind of one of these random lean startup debates. I would that's a classic. Do things that don't scale. I would just go buy it, at the farmer's market yourself and deliver it. This is going to be a good segue into Jonathan's. We like to see teams It's not mandatory yet. We may hard code it into the program, but your second experiment might be something that doesn't scale by definition. I don't think that that's your riskiest assumption, is finding it might be your riskiest assumption to scale. And that's why I wanted you talking to that other guy, Schellenbach. So I want you actually doing that in front of everyone on Facebook. I introduced you guys. That might be, yeah, there he is. Is that him? Oh, look at that. Yeah. So that might be a risky assumption for scale, but it's not going to be an, okay. Sorry. We're sort of all over the place, but all right. Jonathan and Josh.
Hey.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. Hey, everyone.
So Jonathan's going to tell everyone, and then we'll end. This is definitely compressed time for 3 full pitches. I think we're close, just like we were with Elena. Obviously, and I definitely want to hear Boris jumping in so that I'm not the guy that always says do this without tech. I think your value proposition of giving to people, I think the unique part of the value proposition that you're saying they will give specifically because they know where the funds are going, versus that it's easy to give by pressing a button. I think those are related, but I think they're definitely those are definitely 2 different value propositions. I think it may have to be easy, but the thing that I was going to lean on you, and I was sort of talking to Josh behind your back to sort of guide you, because the other part of one of the 10 experiments that I'm testing simultaneously, even though you guys aren't allowed to, is that the mentors can really help scale this program now that we are writing checks and people are showing up on these calls. So I think your metrics have been clear from day one. I think they've been pretty closely tied to the specific value proposition. There was a little bit of leeway in there, like were they doing it because you're a good salesperson? Were they doing it because you were there? Were they doing it because they trusted you more than just someone else, and they've always wanted to give money, but then when you take yourself out of the equation, that goes away. The greatest thing about good experiments that don't scale is that when you take the not scalable part out, it doesn't collapse. It's just replaced by something more scalable, if that makes sense. So the like cause and effect doesn't change. It just maybe some sort of pricing element changes. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but
so I might be. I think this might be one where I'm not as up to speed. Just gonna have like a one sentence.
Yes, good for you. Thank you for holding me to that. Jonathan, what are you trying to test and what are you trying to accomplish?
So our interviews, I identified this sort of pain where people want to help people in need on the street when they see them, but they can't for kind of a lack of clarity as to if giving cash will actually help the person. And a lot of the times are stuck without cash in the first place. So I also think those are also 2 very different problems, but we won't get too much into the nitty-gritty here. Sure. So our experiment is that we can get 50 people to start giving $2 a week through our platform if we simply can provide a guarantee or provide a system where that money is used effectively, where you can be sure that it's actually going to help that person in some sort of concrete, tangible manner, such as getting a storage locker or getting transportation.
Gotcha. And so I think, and I remember the project. And where are these people? Is it just like a random person on the street?
The givers or the recipients? The recipients, we will find them through nonprofit shelters in like downtown Seattle. So in like the urban core. So they'll be, on a given street corner or a highway exit. Some of them are staying outside of stores, like a grocery store, just anywhere of high foot traffic. Or they might be on the margins, like, behind the bus stop, kind of behind the fence in the tent. Could be.
Okay. And so where, based on the experience, so this is a relatively relatively higher fidelity experiment. Where did the hypothesis come from? Like, did you do interviews with people who are already giving, and this is the question that came up? Like, they're not sure. That's what it sounds like to me, right? I'm just reverse engineering what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just started off with interviewing a ton of tech employees downtown. So people who work at Amazon, people who work at Microsoft, Tableau, Adobe, just people who are commuting into the city on a daily basis, who experience this sort of frustration where you have these young professionals who want to help, don't know how, end up ignoring, or it's just a kind of frustrating encounter for them. And obviously it's frustrating for the person in need too, because these sort of issues of trust are preventing them from getting the resources that they need to advance in their life.
So the frustration is with, could you clarify?
Sure. I mean, it's on both ends, but we're focusing right now on the giver and the fact. Like, I mean, just statistics show that 90% of U.S. households are giving on average $1,600 to charity a year. So it's. I mean, clearly people want to give, but for most of the people that I interviewed, they're not able to give at that rate in this situation. I think one of the things that they said was like, I prefer to give directly to a person and see the effect that my money has, but in this situation I can't. I'd rather give to an individual than.
Well, the solution, there could be not making it easier, not even knowing this, but being able to sort of keep in touch with the person or monitor, not just that you're guaranteeing the fund, but that they're actually seeing something. And I don't want to use the word pen pal, but again, the solutions are on you. Some people, and I hate being callous with important social issues, but like some people unfortunately may not want, and they don't want to deal with that, burden. It sounds horrible, but they just may not, so some people like buy away that guilt and like, I gave, but I don't have room for this in my life, better or worse.
Yeah. So
yeah, there are a lot of parts of this experiment that sort of, I feel like we're almost being easier on you than we were on Elena, because it's easy. She's just another consultant like us, so it's easy for us to be hard on her, and you're, helping, people in need. But
we're testing to see if we can get 50 people to give $2. If we can do that.
Okay, so the $2.
And
we're trying to get to 50 $2 givers in 8 weeks' time. So by week 8, after the launch of our prototype, we will have 50 people giving $2 a week to.
All right, and giving $2 a week means they have agreed, and this is a big thing, this is what I was talking to Josh about. They're agreeing to give this is sort of where when you were talking about beacons, and I was like, well, they still have to do something first, right? They have to enable Apple Pay in their phone so that it happens automatically. So they're basically willing to opt in.
No,
$2.
They're not enabling auto pay. They're just making.
Oh, I know. Forget.
Okay.
I was just sorry. Are they opting in for $2 for the year automatically?
No, this is like single transactions. A $2.
So that's a retention metric afterward. All you want to see is if 50 people will give you $2 once.
I mean, we want, like, let's say over the course of a month, we want to see them give us $2, $2, $2, $2, or.
Yeah, I think I kind of see where maybe Adam you're going. I would simplify the donation part. I mean, I don't think you're testing donation. Like, getting into recurring donation is more complicated.
It's not recurring. It's single transactions.
Or I would consider making the hurdle really low, because it sounds like your hypothesis is really about testing whether people care about that, being able to follow up, or being able, or about transparency, or however you want to call it. So I would make the financial side of it. I think it's okay to make it really easy for them, and really, make it just $2. Make it just $2, period, maybe.
Sure.
Unless people don't feel like it's enough.
I'm interested in like active, like ongoing monthly active users versus like one-off transactions. Like someone downloads the app, feels compelled to give once and then just forgets about it. I
think that's a problem. That's
sure. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, I see. I totally get it. I get the logic, but I think it's not a problem. That's not your critical problem right this minute. Based on the,
sure.
One thing. One thing we talked about on the Facebook group, Jonathan, was, and you mentioned this was one thing you wanted to test, was the lack of clarity of use of funds. So is there a way that we could just say, if just for this first experiment, if we're not looking at the recurring, we just say 50 people at $2, and you're just very clear about, you mentioned the locker. I don't know if $2 is enough to get somebody a locker, but let's say it was.
Well, it will be, because a lot of the
testing.
times, the same thing with Damien, and I'm not making a joke of this particular experiment, but it will be, because that's the kind of stuff that I will fund that has nothing to do with really. I like people running good experiments, whether they're social good or not. So if I was willing to give Damien $50 just on an email click, let's assume the solution is possible. So whether it's the technology part and the beacons, and we have people literally running over the streets of Seattle doing it manually, or if it's, yes, if he's willing to prove that they want to see the locker is not the risky assumption. Is all my point is. So we'll take that offline. I am gonna have to bail in a little bit because I do have a 2:30 meeting, and it's not where I am right now. And I feel like I owe some of you an explanation as to where this program's going. But
can I throw in just one thing for like 20 seconds?
We also funded
just for the metric. I would just ask for also a metric that's a percentage or ratio, right? So it's not just an absolute number. Like, we're gonna approach this many people, and out of them 50 are gonna. I think it's just going to make more sense.
Yeah, normally I think for the first experiment, a net number is enough just to get started. But I agree with Boris here. With giving to charity, it makes a huge difference. If you just get a team and you want to win this experiment, and you get a team of volunteers to sort of canvass the entire city of Seattle, versus if you do it and you keep track of how many people said yes and how many people said. So I agree. When we will. It might not be right on this call because I have to run in a second, but I'm going to give you some money, whether it's for the locker or it's not going to be for the technology for this first experiment, but it'll either be for the locker or just for the experiment. I don't know, but it'll be a decent amount, 500 or $1,000. But I agree with Boris. We have to tighten up the metrics, and I also want to tighten up the intent. I really want to do a good job of differentiating ease of use versus result. So I think we've at least agreed on this call that it's what we're testing, and we may be wrong. We may find that it's ease of giving and beacons and ease of tracking and all that stuff. But for now, the hypothesis is that they're going to give to you versus the Red Cross, because you are doing a better job, however you're doing it, of telling them in a non-intrusive way, hey, your money's going to the right place and it's being used, and it actually, maybe it's just one alert once, in a month that sends a picture of the guy, with his locker or getting a job or something. I don't know. And again, that's above my pay grade, but I think the metric is clear. I don't want to see 8 weeks. So obviously I'm just going to cut it in half. And this is the easiest thing that I do to people. It's helpful. It's not just to save me money. It's also saves you time. All these experiments that are 8 months, sometimes people argue, well, they ramp up. So it's like I get my final, but usually that's bullshit. So they'll still be ramping up between week 1 and week 4 if your thesis is true. So the only thing I'd say is whatever you can do in 8 weeks, you do in 4. If you're doing it, great. I'm going to extend it by definition. Why not? But if it's not working, it just means that we're going to know faster. So that's probably my only feedback.
Simplify the metrics, get a ratio in terms of conversions, and then halve the time of how the experiments, essentially.
Yeah, and then the fourth thing I think is, just really tighten up that if we mess it up a little bit, this isn't a huge investment at first, but I really want to know that they're giving because they care about tracking, and they're not giving because you're the best option that week, that they have been feeling bad and they kind of care about the problem, but there's certain times when I won't, maybe we're asking at Christmas, and I want to just make sure that the cause and effect is as good as it can. It's not going to be perfect on the first experiment, but I want to make sure that it's at least reasonable. That's it. But with Josh working with you, I have no doubt that it will be. And now that we're doing these kind of calls and everyone understands that the Facebook stuff, I do kind of want you thinking it out loud and putting it in front of this group. Obviously you're not worried. This isn't a huge business. You're not worried that people are going to steal your idea. You'd be happy I'm assuming if the homeless problem is solved. So yeah, I'm going to keep pushing the same way, but yeah, we will fund this as well. So 3 for 3, people got funded on this call. So on that note, I don't have to explain shit on this call about the rest of the program. I'm sort of joking. Let's do the same call next week. The other thing is too, and this is sort of what I was going to say at the end anyway, I'm not trying any other than Boris, of course. I'm not trying to get any like fancy, high paid, brand name mentors. Boris is the only one, he's the fanciest mentor in the world. The rest of this is going to be once someone goes through their first experiment and understands like why we're asking for an action, why we're cutting the time in half, why we want the value proposition directly related to the action and not like, oh, here's free pizza in exchange for the action. Oh, that proved that people really want to, get food delivered to their house. Or I guess food is a bad example. So I want you guys are going to become the mentors. And the other thing that you're accepting when you accept our money is that instead of me being the annoying guy on Facebook, I'm not asking us to take over your life, but you are going to be, obviously we've seen an influx of certain people asking for money, and we're not going to like assume that it's spam. We're going to at least entertain the first request of every single person that does, at least that first interview or 5 interviews. So everyone in the Facebook group has at least done one or 5, been dropping the barrier, not for funding, but for at least getting into the group. So anyone that's in there, I'm putting a few more things in place because this has real monies involved. So they have to sort of have a real, social profile. But we're going to take seriously, even if it seems like, oh, fund me to pay my mortgage or something, if it's an experiment and they have a real profile, we're going to assume that everyone is acting in good faith. Obviously, people are going to try to take advantage of us when we offer free money, but I'm relying on the people that got funding and are in the program and are getting involved to at least entertain that first conversation with people. And if you really don't know, like Josh and I have done this, he kind of looks like, I don't know about this person. They might just be trying to scam us. Then you'll send it to me like direct message. But the goal of this program, obviously VCs, there's a reason why they can't say yes to everyone, and it's totally legitimate. And we're not just going to give people free money in this program, but if they do the interviews and they construct a hypothesis and they're willing to test it and they have they don't even have to have a trustable profile online, but they have anything but a Twitter egg. I threw that in as one of the rules recently. We're going to try to take a chance on them until it's no longer sustainable. But the hypothesis is that the default is yes. Where other funds, the default is no. But it's not free. It comes with hypothesis. And again, same thing I just said. All right, I really got to run. This was good. 3 real testable hypotheses. If there's anyone, it looks like there's 8 people. I think we're 5 of them. So I guess it's not that many other people. I see Ben is one of them. So he sort of knows what's going on. And I guess Steve is one of them too. So yeah, I guess there's not that many random people.
Nice
All right, I got to go.
Nice to meet you, Josh. Thank you.
Sorry?
Thanks, Adam.
Talk to you on email.
Okay.
Yeah.